All right, we're in. Welcome back to the Construction Entrepreneur Podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about working for a main contractor. Now, even if you don't work for a main contractor, on this episode you're going to learn about the working difference between like a contracts manager and a quantity surveyor and the pitfalls that happens without both sides, because you might be in a position one day you actually employ these people into your business. So it's going to be really helpful to understand even if you don't work for a main contractor. So working for a main contractor, let's just clear up what a main contractor is if you don't know what that is or understand what that is. A main contractor is someone who takes on the job as the whole. So they take on the whole job, but they then might subcontract different elements of that job out to different people like mechanical, electrical, plumbers, bricklayers, floor layers, and subcontract out the packages. Now, what can happen from that world, this is my background. I'm from a main contracting background where you have your own internal team that do different bits of work. You've got that solid core of people that do generic stuff like carpentry, maybe a plumber, electrical, your own solid team. But when you're pricing projects all over the country, you're always going to need subcontractors to do work. Now, the issue is you're going to, we've always been in a competitive tendering environment. So you need to choose the subcontractors that are competitive, but deliver a great job as well. So it's very much led from a commercial point of view at the beginning for a main contractor. They're looking to get best prices, best contractors to do the work. So when we were tendering stuff, and at our peak, we were pricing and estimating £3 million worth of work a month. So I understand what goes into pricing and being competitive, because it's one side being competitive at tendering, but it's the other side, you've got to deliver that work and you've got to deliver it to a great standard. So it's no good choosing subcontractors that you've never used before. Their price is extremely low. Like if I get 3 or 4 quotes in and one is very, very low compared to the others, that would raise suspicion to me as a commercially minded person that maybe they've not looked at the job properly, maybe they're not qualified enough to look at the job or do the job, and the standard's not going to be quite what it needs to be. Equally, if someone's really expensive, starts raising eyebrows of going, wow, have the other people missed something, or have they just not priced it properly? So it's a real cat and mouse game. You have to be really good and on the point when you're getting tenders in. And this is where it comes down to having a quantity surveyor who professionally measures the job in terms of meterages and rates, areas, what we should be expecting to pay for certain stuff. And what really helps being a main contractor is having previous works where you know what prices you've paid previously, what's competitive, knowing what differences that's going to be in terms of what area you're in, the complexity of the jobs, and all sorts of manner of stuff like that, depending on what the job is. But it starts in a very much from a commercial point of view, a quantity surveyor's mind point of best value, best fitted subcontractor. Now, the downfalls are a lot of QSs will drive purely on price. A lot of estimators will drive purely on price. And this is the topic that I really want to drill into today to give you balance and understanding of working for a main contractor. But equally, like I say, from yourself as running a main contracting business yourself, and the differences you're going to have is that, for me, it's very clear, black and white. If you left the business in the hands of purely a commercially driven person who scrutinises price all the time, you will never ever find great subbies that deliver work and do it properly. But the flip side is, on the other side of that, you've then got someone in like a contracts manager's position or a project manager's position. If you left the business in their hands, you will probably not make any money on any of the jobs. So you've got a stark difference there, because the QS is coming at it and the estimators are coming at it from a point of view of best value, price, cost, get the budget down, screw all the costs down. And a lot of QSs, they do want to fuck contractors over all the time and just literally screw them and just not make life very easy for those contractors, they're not the QSs you want. And then on the other side, you've got contracts managers who really, their mindset is all about just getting the job done. They're not typically financially astute, wise people. If they were, they would be having their own business and running their own firm. A contracts manager, a project manager is more of a people person, a can-do attitude, get it done, works with people type of person. which is great. You need both. By all means, you need both. You need someone who's on the money in terms of the finances, but you also need someone who can actually speak to people and get the best out of people, because it's no good getting the cheapest costs, but then the contractors don't want to work for you and your company because they get treated like an arsehole, and that, you know, everything gets argued down to the last screw. You owe me 39p for not using that screw, and all sorts of bullshit going backwards and forwards in terms of costs. So it is a battle. Now, if you're working for a main contractor, your port of call, your contact, your relationship may well be with the contracts manager. So you might have a fantastic working relationship with him because he's called you up and said, oh, can you price this job? Can you look at this? Can you do this? But ultimately, the decision will lie with the commercial team, and the commercial side, the quantity surveyor team. So what's very common in construction is that the contracts manager, the project manager gets people in, gets subcontractors in to do work, gets them to price it. Everything's hunky-dory. Then a QS gets involved, pulls that price apart. The relationship starts getting frail. The contractor then may have extras on the jobs and it's not been dealt with properly. Then the QS just absolutely hammers you because you've not had your ducks in a row and you've not lined up. You've not done your variations in line with the contract. You've not followed the exact process of getting an uplift on your purchase order. Maybe you've not verbally and in written form put down what those extras are and put a claim in, and then it's all done above board, because the QS will go on based on what the actual facts are of running a contract and being a commercially minded person. Whereas a contracts manager might say to you, and this is what happens a fucking hell of a lot, he's going, oh, don't worry about that, we'll sort it out at the end of the job. You know, contracts managers are very much like that. And when you hear this might just be the learning point that you need from this podcast, is that when people say to you, oh, don't worry about it, we'll sort it out at the end, like 9 times out of 10 is going to end up in a shit show of you not being able to claim for your extras, your variations, or any changes on the job. And it's going to come down to, oh, don't worry, we'll sort it out on the next job. You know, shake hands, we're all mates. But the only person that loses out on that is you working for that main contractor. So if you are working for a main contractor, you need to follow the law and follow the process of working for a main contractor. So a good main contractor will issue a purchase order. There will be an agreement there that says in black and white, it's their purchase order terms, and it says how to handle things and how to conduct things. There might be 15 or 16 points to that contract. When you receive your order, you need to follow the rules that they've set out in their order, okay? But equally, a step before that, you need to have very detailed quotations that explain, right, these are the works that we've done as we see it. And if there's potential extras or variations that you see, because you're the expert in what you do and you can see they've missed stuff, you need to highlight that on your quotation that it doesn't include that, and you need to be very, very clear on what you're including for your price, and that's going to set you up for a much better stead of working for a contractor. Now, it's all going to come down to relationships. Now, when something goes wrong on site, some extras won't really cost you any more money, and you're going to do the contracts manager a favour by taking care of it and not having to create loads more paperwork and going for extras to their client. So it's an art of juggling that and doing the odd stuff for free, if you like, but doing it because you're developing a working relationship, and it's what I call spirit of the contract, working together. But if you've got genuine extras that come up, you need to follow that process so that you don't get caught out, you don't get lost. And this doesn't matter whether you're working for a main contractor or not. You need to operate like this as a business for every client that you work for. Your quotations have got to be on the point, on the money. There can't be one word fag packet quotes. They need to be detailed, itemised. And it is an art as well of showing too little or too much information on a quotation, because sometimes too much information allows the client to shop around and check prices and look at stuff and go down all sorts of rabbit holes. But equally, too little information doesn't really put you in good stead when you might be in a position of going, well, that's an extra because that's not included. But if it's not clearly described on what you are included at the beginning, you haven't really got anywhere to go on that. So your quotation and your commercial side of the business has got to be run right first. But it is about working with people and setting yourself up for the right standard. And this is what I mean about this. So when you might be listening to this and you're a building contractor yourself, and you might be in a position of you've got a contracts manager and you've got a QS, or you want to get to a point where you've got someone running the jobs, but then you've got a commercial sided minded person who's pricing work and running the contracts from a commercial point of view. Where we went wrong is that we were trying to find the one person that would do everything. We were trying to find people that could run jobs very well, organise them, procure them, liaise with the client, do the whole thing, sort the program out, and then equally commercially manage the projects and basically do subcontract orders, do CVR, so it's cost reconciliation, tracking costs on all the jobs, invoicing the jobs at the right time. And what we found is that was like an impossible hire, because what we were trying to find is people like us. We would do that because we own the business. We're business-minded people. So from our mindset, if we're running a job, we run it commercially as well. We make sure we get paid. Whereas a contracts manager that you employ, if they were like that, like I said, they would have their own business as well. They're not like that. They're just, that's a job. I need all the help with all the commercials, all the finances, and I'll just run it. And this is the problem, because you feel like you should have someone that should be able to take responsibility for the job in the whole entirety from a numbers and finance point of view, and equally a delivery point of view. But if you're trying to look for that like we were, you're gonna really fucking struggle. We went through a lot of different people, project managers, contracts managers, and you just don't find them. And it's common throughout the world that you need to have someone who's looking after the financials of the job, the QS, and you need someone who's actually delivering the job. And for me personally, if you had to choose one, I would rather choose a QS to run the job, but finding a QS who's still a normal person and can actually talk to people, work with people, and understand that it's not all about just stripping every penny out of the job and saving money, because you still got to deliver the job, you still got to work with the subcontractors. And it's a one-way street. If you try and save every single penny and screw people over, no one's going to want to do you favours. And this industry is built on scratching people's backs. It's, will you pop in there and do this job for me because it's gone slightly wrong, but don't worry because I've looked after you on this job. It's an art. It is an art in this game, and it is not just black and white. No single job in construction goes perfect from estimation stage to delivery stage. Things chop and change all the time. Labour moves around all the time. Subcontractors, some are good, some are bad. Problems happen on jobs. Clients change their minds on specs. It is an art, and it's a real people person to manage it. And this is the problem for the small business owner, is that you've got to wear all these hats. You have to be financially astute, and you have to be very good at managing and dealing with the stress of the constant moving obstacles of just day-to-day general shit. It's just how it is. But no one's going to look after the business more than you are. And this is the issue that I have found speaking to a lot of business owners in this industry, is that they're very focused just purely on the delivery side. Just get the job done, and letting the financial slip. And if I can get one thing across to you, if you are that person, you're in that position, that is your one-way ticket to a business that is not profitable. You've always got to put the finances on an even keel with the delivery of the jobs. You've got to wear both hats, unfortunately. You've got to be that QS-minded person, and you've also got to be that contracts manager-minded person to deliver all the works to, one, a good standards and on time, but also financially viable and successful, making the money that it needs to make based on when you estimated the job, so that you're hitting the gross profit margins for the company, and you know that you've got all your finances in order. This is where it all goes wrong, and it's a really common problem and common issue. But it's when you're working for a main contractor, you will get your ass handed to you, and you need to act and behave like a main contractor, even if you're currently a subcontractor at the minute for another main contractor or a bigger company that you do a lot of work for, especially more in a commercial setting. You've always got to be aware of both sides of the coin, and it is just an art. And this is where it becomes a bit of a lonely place as a business owner, because if you don't know this stuff and you are juggling all the plates, not only have you got to have your QS mind and your contracts manager mind, you're also trying to grow a business. So you've got an element of you getting pulled in the direction of marketing, things like websites, advertisements, recruiting staff, growing the business, meeting your accountant, getting new vans, getting new uniforms, all this sort of bullshit stuff that gets you pulled in different directions. But the two biggest hats that are going to pay you the most is being more of a commercially minded person, a facts, a figures, a numbers, a financial driven person, as well as being really good communicator to your clients, your lads, your subcontractors, and delivering the work and getting the best out of everyone. So it gels together, and the two come combined. You need both. You do need both, and this is the art you're going to have as a business owner. This is the conversations I used to have all the time, is that I would spend a lot of my time, 80% of my time, in the commercial side of the business, getting tenders in and evaluating those tenders, the opportunities, the potential margin that you can earn on them, the viability and the growth and the potential of further work, the viability of doing it, getting best costs, but equally getting the right costs for the jobs, and then working with the project managers and going, well, this is how we see it from an estimating point of view, but from a delivery point of view, can we deliver it like that? Is there something we've missed? Because what I find is that from an estimating point of view, professional estimators are working to a software, so they do a full-on takeoff and create what's called a bill of quantities. Now, what they work in facts, figures, linear, solid, one plane of thinking, and on a computer screen measuring, areas and volumes. Whereas a project manager will come at it from, or a contracts manager, they will come at it from a practicality point of view of, well, where's all the skips going to go? How's that going to be delivered at the same time? How are you going to have that many people on site? How are you going to overlap all of that? The feasibility and the practicality. So the two sides have got their varied input, and it is the art for you being a business owner listening to this of going, right, is this job commercially viable? Have we got the estimation right? But equally, is it feasible and practical to run? And once you learn all this stuff and you get a firm grasp on your numbers and you get a firm grasp on from a commercial point of view, and you've got the experience of delivering jobs, if any building company, you're doing a lot of repetitive works most of the time. So you understand how long things take. And what I always like to do is go, right, this is how the job stacks up from a measured rate, like a QS has measured it and done a bill of quants. But by gut feel, how long do I think that job's going to take? Well, I think it's going to take 3 weeks for this. I think it's going to take 4 weeks for that, 4 weeks for this, 2 weeks for that. And look at the two differences and the discrepancies and go, right, where are we? Are we way off? Is the estimation way above what we think practicality on site? Or is it vice versa and having that gut feel on it? And this is what it's like working for a main contractor. This is what it is on the inside of the office. And from a main contractor's point of view, if a subcontractor's giving a price, they're going to hold you to that price. If you've missed something as a subcontractor and it's genuinely on your shoes and your fault, they are not going to accept an extra from you and then go to their client because it looks like they've missed something as well. So it's a constant art and a game. And what I would say to you, if you're working for a main contractor a lot, and I've had this conversation this week, and that's what sparked the idea of doing this episode, of one of my clients, someone I work with and mentor and help throughout his business. He is getting a lot of backwards and forwards for extras on jobs, and the QSs are knocking him all the time. Now, he doesn't want to disrupt that relationship because he gets a lot of work from that client, but equally, he can't keep sorting extras all the time because the contracts manager has missed them and he's not informed him correctly of the job. So what do? And the real reason, what you really do is you go and have a meeting with the company and you explain the problems and challenges you're getting. If you're getting knocked all the time, if you've got your paperwork in order, but there's all this stuff coming up all the time and the contract's becoming hard to run, you need to go and have this conversation with the people and explain it and have a meeting with them and just explain, look, we love working for you, we love doing a great job for you, but every time we price a job, you say we're expensive because we've included everything that is included. Because what happens a lot is another subcontractor could miss stuff and then you look expensive. So you have to justify why your price is more expensive than a different subby. These are conversations you need to have face to face and explain and go, look, I appreciate sometimes we're expensive, but it's because we've allowed for X, Y, and Z and it's done properly. Whereas if we don't price for that and then it comes up on the job, you won't allow us to charge for it and then we end up losing money. And you've got to have that conversation. And once you build a relationship with you need a relationship with both sides. You need a relationship with the contracts manager and the QS. And once you've got both of them on side and you've got a working relationship, then you can build something and work it forward. And if you don't work for a subcontractor, but you're equally aware that you've got these two sides of the business, you've got to be aware that when you're trying to recruit people, you've got to recruit people for their strengths. And you want a sensible QS who gets the game as well, gets this industry, because they're out there, they're harder to find, but they are out there. Or the person that estimates, and it might be you. You might be the estimator still in your business, you're estimating all the prices. You need to be able to estimate it fairly and go, well, that's what the materials are, that's what the labour is, and that's what the plant is to do the job. But equally, difficulty on site, customer, the house, the office, the location, the practicalities, you know, and actually bring a bit more of that into it, of actually delivering the job on site. Because there is nothing worse when there's an estimate and the estimator's gone, well, I've allowed 3 weeks to do that, but practicalities is going to take 4 weeks. The QS goes, well, you need to make it fucking work in 3 weeks, but if it's impossible, you're fucked. And you're in this trap, and it's a constant fucking yo-yo. I'm being perfectly honest. Look, it is difficult to get right. There is no right, wrong answer. There is a lot of it that comes down to experience and having the right people doing these roles in your business. And for me, I sort of point out that this is the grey area of what a younger, less experienced business owner has got, is not knowing all of this stuff and not minimising all the stuff that you can do at the front end, and you can get yourself in a fucking shit show really easily and get caught out because you're just not switched on or practical enough or have the experience to know all this sort of stuff. But that's really where it comes out from working for a main contractor. So it's very good, you know, you can get a lot of work from a main contractor, but you need to understand how it really works. And I hope this episode is giving you a bit of an overview and an evaluation of how it works. But I just want to reinforce the message that don't ever forget that a QS is always looking at it from a just purely more of a number side, unless you've got a very experienced, very good one. And a contracts manager is more of a person who just want to get it done. Because think about it logically, these two people are in a job and they want to do their job well. They don't want to be told off at work. They want to be a performer. They don't want to be seen shit at their job. So a QS's performance is based on how much money they can save the company. If they can go to the owner of that business, equally the owner, yourself, if you've got a QS or an estimator in board, you want an estimator that says, well, look, I found this company, they're cheaper, we've saved money on this, we've increased the margin. That's what you want as a business owner. And equally, a contracts manager wants to be able to say, well, I've delivered the job on time, it's the customer's happy, everything's good. But there's that middle ground of too far one way, you're not going to get anyone to do the work. And yes, everyone might be happy, the customer might be happy, but if you're not making money, it's fucking pointless doing the job and it's pointless being in business. So you need to get your head around both two sides of the camp. That's how a main contractor works, and that's how you want to work as a business owner. And you've got to wear those two hats and juggle those two plates, but get the art right and get it working well. And you can have a great business, you can make some decent money. So I hope that's been useful, guys. I hope that's been a good episode to get your head around. I am pumping out a lot of these episodes. If you're not subscribed already, please do. It does help out the channel, and we've hit 1,000 downloads so far. We're on episode 13 at the minute. But the more that you subscribe, share with people and leave a review of the podcast, the more it helps out. So if you could do that, that would really help me out. And I will see you on the next one.